Okay, so I believe that it's super important to at least address the sun god theory, because whether you believe in a god, no god, 10 gods, fundamentally this video is going to bring us closer to our source and have a better understanding in life itself. Now, I personally am not going to say that I full on believe that God is the sun and whatever, but I am a woman of science and I do have a very open mind, and I know that there is a source energy. So by the end of this video, you will be clear as to understanding why the sun god theory makes sense in a scientific term, why God could very well be the sun, and how it is explained and proved in science. So if you're super excited about this, make sure you give me a big fat thumbs up and let me know in the comments before we even get started, like, what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's crazy? Do you believe in it? What have you heard about it, etc.? I'm really excited to see what you guys say, even if it's hateful. I don't even care. So let's get into the video. The sun god theory. Isn't this thing so cute? I got it in La Dominicana. This is actually a sun god statue, and I will link in the comments down below if you guys want one as well. This one specifically is from La Dominicana. Shout out to all my Dominicans. All right, so going into number one, there's 3 solid reasons as to why science is backing up the theory that God is sun itself. And number 1 is law of oneness. Law of oneness states that everything in this universe is not only the same energy, but it's all in different expressions of itself. It states that all energy can never be created or destroyed, and everything is in deviations off of its original source, right? And so if we look at the sun is literally smack dab in the middle, and everything is going around it, right? And there's certain planets that have more suns than others and blah, 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 but we have to realize that everything's orbiting around the sun, right? And the sun itself is this big ball of energy that they've done studies on it and ever that if the sun, if and when and whatever, however this is going to work, so none of us truly knows, when the sun burns out, that there's going to be no life left, right? Like, it would kill off so much. And so we have to realize that if we're going back to God itself and how God created us all and how we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God. If we go back to the sun, like, we are all deviations of source energy, this big ball of energy that is literally everything around it is orbiting, and we would die without it, right? So that is number 1. Number 2 is the whole time-space perception reality. I will make a whole video on this about how time is actually an illusion if you guys want me to, but the biggest mind blower in kind of like perception in time is that obviously, like, the further away in perception something is from you, the further in time it seems, right? And so this has actually been proved in neuroscience that, like, your perception due to your sensory has to literally determine how, like, mentally and far and, like, physically you actually determine something, and as far as, like, time and space goes. So an example of this is if I hold my hand out right here, my senses state that it would take me like 2 seconds to slap my hand, like from here to here, like boom, boom, like 2 seconds, right? But if I held my hand out to here, it would say like, what, like 3 seconds, 3, 4, whatever, right? But if for whatever reason my eyesight was adjusted to either see further or shorter, even though my hand could be in the same exact spot, I'm gonna say this takes 2 seconds and this takes 4 seconds, right? Because it all has to do with my perception. And so when we go out and we stretch, right, everything has to do, like, we have law of oneness and then we have our ego. So everything is the same, and then we were created with an ego to have a human experience, because the ego, what it does is it separates us. It even separates like our eyes from our fingers, right? So we're not just this blended thing of energy. It gives us this physicality. I can't even say the word, but you guys understand what I'm saying. And so that's the whole purpose of ego, right? Is to cause that separation so that you can have like a 3D human experience reality. And so whenever we revert back to nothingness, we revert back to ego, we literally aren't alive. And like, we are alive. I don't want to say we literally aren't alive. That's not technically true, but like, we are not in like our human breathing sense, right? We're reverting back to pure consciousness. And so when you take everything back and then you close your eyes, you realize that it's pure darkness, or when people say like, when they're gonna die, like they turn to the light, right? And so the whole time-space reality thing is that the further away you get from something, the more time away it seems, right? So that's what the human sense. And then when you revert back, like, to just the human consciousness and sense, it's just light, it's just darkness, it's just energy, right? And so if we look at the planets, and how the planets orbit and how they are away from the source energy, aka like what it would be like the light inside of us, is that every planet that gets further away from the sun, time actually goes slower. So that 100% correlates with how we as humans, whenever we revert back, it's just this energy, it's just this source of light. And that the further away something seems, the more time it goes. So these are all three really like mind-blowing, like you might take this lightly, but it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. It's like, okay, law of oneness, it states that everything in the universe is merely energy and that we cannot live without the source energy. So then that's kind of related back to the sun. Everything's orbiting around the sun. We could not live without the sun. The further away the planets get from source energy, the slower the time is. The further away we get from our original source, our spirit, the further time gets. And so we have to realize that not just with laws of the universe, not just with physics and neuroscience, but even like symbolism and how everything is like set out, right? Like how even the planets affirm that this truth, that the further away you get from the source energy, the further it goes away. So like I said, this is just a theory. The reason why I bring it up is because obviously it gets us closer to our source, gets us closer to understanding like life in itself. I would love to know in the comments what you guys think of this, what you have learned, if you think it's crazy, if you believe in it more. Ancient Egyptians used to literally do sacrifices and praise the sun because they thought that the god was the sun, right? And ancient Egyptians, we all know, knew way more about pretty much everything than we do in this current time-space reality. So I think that's just another, you know, cherry on top to realize that even the ancient Egyptians were praising sun as the god, and I think that's something we should take note of. Whether you praise the god, whether you praise to the sun or not, either way, the fundamental is we are connecting to source energy, we're connecting to God. So like I say, I want to know what your guys' comments are, what opinions you have, and also what other videos you guys want me to make around this topic, whether it's a time-space reality, whether it's more theories that I have, whether it's on spirituality. Like, let me know in the comments. As always, guys, I love you so much. Dream big, live large. Oh, and he's gonna say it with me, and be alive. Remember, you can get this little dude in the comment section if you desire. I will also link down below a couple books on the sun god theory to help you guys kind of get a better understanding if you are resonating with this message. Adios.